So let's take a look at color management in DaVinci Resolve and a few different ways that you can make sure that your high dynamic range or HDR or your 10-bit footage or your log footage is showing properly. Because it can be kind of a shock when you first start using 10-bit or log or HDR footage. It doesn't really show up properly sometimes. For example, I have in this little example timeline 3 different shots. So this one was shot with my phone, Samsung S23 Ultra, in the HDR10 Plus, I think it's called. It's a 10-bit footage. And you can see here it looks a little undersaturated, a little gray, a little blah. Here is the FX30, which I was shooting in S-Log. So it's a log profile, which takes all the colors that it can register and kind of squishes them into the middle. So you get kind of more details once you fix it. The downside of shooting that way is that you have to fix it. You have to do something with it every time. DaVinci Resolve makes it easy, but you have to do something with it every time. But the upside is that you get a lot more detail captured to the camera than you would otherwise. And here we have D-Log M setting on the DJI Action 5, which you can see there's a bit more color in that than there is in the log shot FX30, but it's still kind of blah looking. It should be much more vibrant than that. And if we look at our media pool here, you can see that our S23 Ultra clip is 10-bit, the FX30 10-bit, and the DJI 10-bit. So what we have to do is tell Resolve, all right, it's this kind of color, so we need to display it properly. And there's a few ways to do that. So we're back into our project settings here, and we're going to look at the color management tab. And we see here, default to color science DaVinci YRGB, which basically DaVinci is just saying we're taking it as we get it and we're showing it to you as I get it. We're going to change this to DaVinci YRGB color management. You could just put this on HDR. What I tend to do is take off automatic and put it on DaVinci wide gamut. What that does is it does all the processing in a much higher fidelity color space, kind of. And then at the end, you can see output color space. It takes it back down to Rec 709, which is like your standard television or YouTube or whatnot. It's not high dynamic range. So it's kind of taking everything into the high dynamic range for processing and then taking it back down to the regular dynamic range afterward. So take a look at this image here when we hit save. Boom. That's it. It recognizes the footage from the S23 Ultra and says, oh, that's a certain color space that I recognize. I'm going to display it in that color space. Perfect. But the FX30, no luck. And the DJI, no luck. So, and with the FX30 clip here, we're going to use input color space. So if I right click and I go to input color space, I know this is shot on Sony, and I know it was S-Log 3 and not Cine Gamma. There we go. Now that shot is going to display in the right color space. You can select a group of files and say, hey, all of these files are going to be this input color space. And that's one of the reasons why I tend to, as you can see here, keep my cameras in their own bins. So I can take the whole bin and say, hey, this is the FX30, put it in this color space. This is the DJI, put it in that color space. Speaking of the DJI, this is the DJI Action 5. And let's see what we can do for the color space here. So input color space. DJI, D-Log. That's the only one I have for input color space, and that's not right. So and you'll see, boy, that is not right. So we're going to get rid of that color space and do this a different way. We're going to do a LUT, a lookup table. And what that does is it says, hey, if it's this number in the file, that really means this number as a color. Basically the way it works. It can be very technical. But in the LUT folder, if I go down to DJI, you see that I have D-Log M to Rec 709. And this is shot in D-Log M. So if I select that, now this is displaying properly. Although, if I undo it, look at the details in the clouds there. Right? I'm losing detail in the clouds. Not my favorite thing. So I'm going to undo that, and we're going to go into the color page and have a look at ways you can deal with this manually. So I'm going to first take our offset down to get our darks down where they should be. And then I'm going to take the gain down a little bit to preserve detail in the clouds, and maybe turn the gamma up somewhat to get some detail in my face. Very handy. There's a before and there's an after. I think I'll up the contrast a little bit and then take the gamma up higher. Gain down a little bit. So there's the difference there. I'm preserving the details in the sky, but you can still see me. And maybe I'll turn the saturation up a little bit too. Once you find a setting that you like, you can then copy this color grade to all the files that you need to. But you can see how much easier it is to use input color spaces and lookup tables, LUTs, to do this. It's very fast. In fact, let us add a new node, and we'll put the LUT here. This is the DJI. So we'll turn off. That's the LUT, and that's my custom settings. Hey, this means I like the LUT a little bit better. So let's add another node, and let's see if we can get some of those highlights back. Turn the highlights down this way. There we go. Should get more details in the clouds. Anyway, that's a look at color management in Resolve, and a few different ways to get your footage that looks a little gray, a little blah, a little bland, and get it to display properly. Because it's not that the 10-bit footage is bland, it's just that because it's not really a standard yet, the computer doesn't always know how to display it. So we have to tell it how to display it, and then we can work with it to improve it or to match the shots up later. Thanks for coming along. We'll see you next time.